Hello everyone and welcome to Sunburned. Albino lists every game he's played this month being January of 2024. We're a bit late because I've been sick the past few days and still am, and we skipped December of last year because I only played like 2 new games and they were both talked about in my top 20 games of 2023 video, so we're here in a new year starting fresh, except we're actually just continuing all the old shit we did before. I've got 5 new games to talk about today, some of which hit basically the maximum possible extremes of both sides of the popularity spectrum, so let's start with the obvious one. Number 1, Palworld. I've talked about this game plenty over the course of several videos now, but essentially Palworld came out of memehood into early access and just absolutely shook the industry, decimating concurrent player records on Steam and grinding anything else you were doing to a screeching halt if you picked it up. It's the most popular survival game ever. Think Ark meets Arceus, and it took me 80 hours to fall off it until new content reels me back in. Needless to say, even in early access, there's a ton of content, but room for future improvements is tantalizing. Baldur's Gate 3 was in early access for years before it launched into 1.0 and took the world by storm. Palworld's doing it on day 1. Personally, I think this game will be in early access for at least a full year. No shot at 1.0s in 2024, but if it somehow does, it's on the shortest of short lists for my game of the year, regardless of competition. Number 2, Lasers. Now for the other side of the spectrum. Lasers is a free-to-play elimination obstacle course similar to Fall Guys in format, but every level is just a gauntlet of lasers you gotta maneuver through. It had like 80 Steam reviews when I played it, but has since reached almost 1,000 after Moist Critical made a video having fun with it, and I had fun with it too. It's absolute bare-bones simplicity, but the platforming is tight and responsive, which it needs to be because some of these levels are insane. This is definitely not a casual experience, only attempt it if you're a platforming tryhard like me, but if you are, I think you'll find some satisfaction in learning the courses and maybe a couple of days of entertainment while your bootylicious character twerks at the finish line. Number 3, Buckshot Roulette. Turns out playing Russian roulette with a digital gun instead of a real one makes it a lot more fun and safe. Buckshot Roulette is a game from itch.io that gives you and your NPC opponent a shotgun loaded with differing amounts of blanks and live rounds, as well as gameplay modifying items that can manipulate your luck and add more strategy, like a magnifying glass that can show you what the next round is, or handcuffs to skip your opponent's turn. This is still a fledgling game with about 15 minutes of base content, but there's an endless mode and a bit of replayability since your items are randomized each round. Personally, I think this game would pop off if you could play against real people. Adding multiplayer would be incredible. Think of the drinking games. I also have a vision of a real-life version of the game, with a prop shotgun and rounds, where obviously instead of shooting real bullets at yourself or your opponent, it can make a clicking sound like if it's a blank, or make a super loud bang and scare the shit out of you if it's live. I think the act of actually pulling a trigger would really get the adrenaline pumping more, and it would be great for kids. Number 4, the Finals. Competitive shooters get old pretty quick for me, but the Finals is some pretty decent explosive run-and-gun action. The hallmark of the team-based money-banking gameplay is the near-fully destructible environments. There are 3 different builds of character, and they all have tools to rampage through walls and topple entire buildings. There's only a couple modes at present, but for a free game, it's good if you've got some friends around to fall off the map with. Number 5, Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. This game is being hailed as the next big Metroidvania, or I guess the last one since it came out, but while it is encouraging to see that Ubisoft still has the ability to make a game where you don't just clear outposts all day, I still haven't forgiven them for canceling Immortals 2. I know that sounds like I'm allowing outside emotions to lessen my opinion of a game, but Prince of Persia really isn't all that. We're not reaching Ori or Hollow Knight status here. I played it for about 9 hours, haven't finished it, but some of the systems are so antithetical to the idea of a Metroidvania that it just bothers me. It's kind of like what Returnal is to roguelikes, if you remember my opinion of that game. It's like, here's a game that is one of my favorite genres, except it costs twice as much as the best games of that genre, and comes nowhere near close to reaching the heights of said games because of a fatal flaw in their approach to said genre. Prince of Persia's cardinal Metroidvania sin is the extreme nerfing of fast travel. Not only can you not fast travel from anywhere, you can't even fast travel from checkpoints. You have to find these incredibly sparse locations and solve a puzzle or generally do something specific in order to unlock fast travel statues only between these locations, of which there might be 2 per biome. There's very few of them, so if you want to backtrack and re-explore previously inaccessible areas after you get a new ability, aka the very heart and soul of a Metroidvania, it's incredibly annoying traversing half a biome just to open 1 extra chest and then having to hoof it all the way back. Checkpoint trees are way more plentiful, and we should be able to fast travel from those. The other thing that made me shake my head after I saw it is the new map marker system. This game introduces the ability to take pictures of areas and store them on your map in certain places, so you can remind yourself exactly what you're coming back to after a few hours. That's awesome. But then I remembered this game is by Ubisoft, and another shoe was bound to drop, and drop it did. You can only store a certain number of these photos before the game just stops letting you put things on the map. Huh? Am I cluttering my own map too much for your liking? You only get like 15 photos too. Why so low? The game gonna crash if I do 2 more? You can find 1 extra map photo token thing in chests sometimes, which actually makes the situation worse because it devalues the overall loot pool and makes chests less exciting to open. Sure, you could get a quarter of a health upgrade, but thanks to Ubisoft being annoying and dumb, you can also just get a photo slot and a middle finger. Some game studios are just so perpetually out of touch that even when they do something fresh and different, at least from their perspective, they still manage to dirty it up with these needless obstacles. If you imagine the perfect game you've always wanted, whatever it may be, you better hope Ubisoft isn't involved in it or it will not turn out as good as it should, plain and simple. That's not to say this game would have been a 10 out of 10 if it didn't have these issues. The combat is kind of whatever and the platforming is just decent. They even have clone bosses where you fight yourself, and that shit just does not work with this combat. This isn't Dark Souls PvP where you can be methodical and read movements and stuff. The boss just runs at you, escapes hit stun for free, and combos you to death because he can. I played on the hardest difficulty, and those fights just felt so stupid. I'd rather fight any Souls boss than do Prince of Persia clone battles. You either get blown up in 10 seconds flat, or their AI falls asleep while you cheese them with up air juggles. Anyway, I still meant to finish this game, but then Palworld came out and the rest of the industry fell off the face of the earth. But now that that's sort of subsided at this point, I still just don't really feel like revisiting this. Absolutely not worth $50 when far better games are often on sale for under 10. But that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, you can like, share, and subscribe. Watch all my other videos with an Italian sub in each hand, and I'll see you guys next time.